Celestia sat in the ruins of the great hall and watched the sunrise through the hole in the roof. She hadn't been sure she would ever see it again. Apparently she could lower the moon as well as raise the sun now. Marvelous, she thought dully. Obligation and guilt had made her try it. She would rather have crawled into a hole and never came out again, but Equestria needed her to change night into day. The pattern and balance needed to be maintained. The remaining 5 founders had died to try to make sure Equestria was safe and its ponies could continue to live. She could not betray her friends again, not even trying. She had a legacy on her shoulders now. It was even heavier than duty, heavier than a crown, heavier than any of the burdens she had ever railed against since she took the title princess. The crunch of glass behind her made her turn. Her heart lifted for the first time. Starswirl, thou livest still. He had not seen her since the battle had ended hours earlier, and she thought for certain she must have counted him among the dead. I do declare, even that if I should ever master magic time, teleportation shall remain the best spell I ever did invent, even if it did render me unconscious from exhaustion. Starswirl stood amidst the wreckage, looking up at her sitting on the broken table. Celestia, thou art different than when I did see thee last. She pulled a lock of mane over her shoulder to examine it. When she let it go, it drifted back into place as if she was drowning, and it was buoyed by the water slowly killing her. The colors are from when I was caught by the shards of the element's magic. It will serve as a reminder of this night and all occurred in it. She lifted her eyes once again. She could see the moon anymore, nor did the impression of the mare's face picked out in rocks on its surface, amongst other things. I have heard ponies talking, Starswirl said softly. Is it true that the founders did perish in battle? Celestia laughed bitterly. Aye, 'tis true, though it is not as noble as they believe. Prince Goldenmane is barefoot. He believes his mother died a hero. She did. Ultimately, Celestia told him what had happened. Unable to watch his reaction, he made no move to come closer, but also did not turn and leave her to rot in her own failure. She was not sure whether it was a good or bad thing. So, Starswirl, thou art now cleverest pony in Equestria. Was I mistaken? Should I have let Luna die? Was her life worth all those 4 other brave ponies who did nothing but care for Equestria? Tears choked her voice, yet she no longer cared about the property of the princess crying in public. I heard her. At the end, deep within the creature she became, she was still my Luna, and yet my decision cost so much. I can never forgive myself for this, just as the elements cannot forgive me. They did not allow me to retain the sovereignty over sun and now the moon also, but my blood is with them is broken. Starswirl was silent for a long time. Then he spoke again. His voice was so low that even her enhanced alicorn senses could barely hear him. This is not my place to judge here, Celestia. I have opinions, but they are mine to keep. Though doth weep, and have been weeping since the battle did end. My tears say enough, and my words would add nothing to the grief already affixated to fine heart. You shall carry your guilt and see it in each mirror's glance, each sunrise and sunset. Who am I to add to the milestone about my neck? I shall never forgive myself, she hissed. Forever is a long time, Celestia. I know what I say. I am an alicorn, Starswirl. I am made of forevers. He had nothing to say to that, so he instead asked, What are those ponies who did flee in the forest? Some have returned already. Royal guards have pursued with the rest of the news of the battle's end, and Loon and all of the Nightmare's defeat. Nightmare? They know not the alicorn who waged war on Everfree was my dear sister. Starswirl nodded. And thou dost intend to ignorance to remain so? I do, Celestia raised her head to look at the sky once more. They shall think their first casualty of the conflict, taken unawares by the dark force that seek into our destruction. It is not an untruth. Nay, he agreed, it is not. You think me as a monster for keeping this from my subjects? I think thee in mourning, Celestia, either dead or in prison, thou hast lost a brace of kin tonight. Moreover, thou must consider the health of thy subjects' minds and hearts. This night have been traumatic for all and sundry. Luna will not return within her lifetimes, nor the lifetimes of their children or their children's children. That purpose would serve for them to know they were duped, other than to make them trust thee lest, and thus imperil them in through distrust, would serve none. More lies, Celestia muttered. So many lies. So much hurt, so much damage, all because of me. Starsworld reared back and struck the floor, booze raining out as clearly as the canal to a funeral. A small piece of ceiling broke off in a flurry of dust and crashed into the debris nearby. He ignored it and shook his head. Nay, Celestia, that would be Queen Nightmare Moon, did steal away the elements of harmony and murder the valiant Princess Luna before any could have known of her presence, and she would have done the same to thee had the founders not aided thee and laid down to their lives to vanquish her and avenge thy fallen sister. This is what history will show. Thou art the pony's hero. Celestia, it needs to be thus, for the ponies shall trust be what it allows thee to rebuild and protect him henceforth. No, Celestia closed her eyes and gave a shake of her head. Her new mane moved on its own, undulating around her head. It was curious, not unpleasant sensation, but she was still not used to it appearing in her peripheral vision. No, I will not rebuild. Celestia, though remain a princess of the realm. Not here. She cut off Starsworld's protest. I shall not rebuild Castle Everfree. The magic battle of our half have altered the forest. Ponies who did flee into half reported, oddness broad in the woods, strangeling vines that do seek honor fine names by actually strangling ponies. Roots do drag the railway beneath the ground to nourish the trees, creatures that turn ponies into stone but with a glance, yet others whose hue and cry did shake their bones with fright. Starsworld stared. Isn't it credence to these claims? I have flown above the treetops and sensed deep magic here, and that was not present before. Mayhap it was one of the elements doing. As this is my main, mayhap it is already yet punishment for my crimes. Celestia shrugged. There would be no pony to ask who may know. Starsworld's resounding quiet drew her eye. She recognized that his expression as one of deep thought, characterized by the relentless tugging at his beard that tinkled the bells on his hat. What then will be 5 plans? He asked eventually. This time Celestia watched his face when she spoke. Canterlot shall be the new capital of Equestria. Canterlot? He boggled. He knew of her history with the place, her and Luna's both. Aye, she said resolutionly. A fortress of city unicorns, earth ponies, and pegasi, set within all 3 provinces. We shall build it together using the skills of all 3 pony races. It shall not be a place for pomp, but for a place from which I shall rule and be ruled by the needs of my ponies. For they were her ponies now, hers alone to care for, nurture, and love. And if she was also trying to recapture some of the happiness she associated with the place where she and Luna grew up, well, that was a fact that pushed her so far back into Celestia's mind that even its echoed. Starswirl looked unconvinced, but something else stole across his face and twisted his mouth. Then I shall help you build it. You wish to help me rule? Nay, I'm not a ruler, Celestia. I am thy friend, guide, and confidant, but mine is not the mind to rule. I have no stomach for politicking. Mine hooves would itch to travel full soon enough, and I would not wish to deceive thee into thinking I wouldst remain forever. She nodded. She had half known that he would answer this way, and yet her heart still ached a little. Thou art a nomadic scholar forever? Not forever, just a single life of mine. I am made of forevers, she thought sadly. Star Swirl went on, and I fancy I wish to know more of this forest of Everfree and its changes herein. Mayhap I can return it to normalcy some day, or perhaps distill the source of its strangeness. If it twere indeed the element's magic, it did happen while Princess Luna was banished, and mayhap, she tugged ferociously at his beard, mayhap there is some secret to her imprisonment and restoration of her true self upon her return. Celestia's jaw dropped. She had not even considered such a possibility. Thinkest thou this may be true? Only study shall prevail in my answer. She leapt towards her hooves. Then steady thou shalt, Star Swirl and the Bearded. I do give thee this castle and as many servants as thou wish to aid in thee in thy studies. A thought struck her, and the elements thou shalt keep them here for study also. Her sudden movements made him jump back. Princess, I am old and set in my ways, and those ways are the kind unused to servants. But thou must have aid in fine innovators. He closed his eyes, something a little too long to blink. I would like to take a student and train them here with me, if wouldst thou allow, as much as with precious young colt many years ago. Clover's smiling face lifted briefly for her mind, along with the accompanying stab of grief through her heart. Of course, he nodded slowly. When I teleport away, sapped was my strength. I did land in the closet open space for my magic cloud couldst find. 'Twas the West Tower, whereupon I did collapse on the remaining in the state on a dirty floor for the remainder of my defeat of Nightmare. For a moment something like guilt tilted his mouth into a grim line. Your comport is questionable, Star Swirl. Celestia hurried to reassure him. Without thee, I would surely have been slain by my sister's poison. Ah, yes, the poison that she did procure with no knowledge of herbalism, or the like. Star Swirl huffed cautiously onto his beard. It would seem Luna's betrayal did stretch further than this night. Of what speakest thee? Not much of whom, upon waking, I did find my head upon the lap of a chained earth pony. She did parade over much, but I did perceive that Luna, that nightmare moon, have precise strange magics upon her, and twisted her secret hedge witch herbalism into her own dark ends. He met with Celestia's gaze squarely, and did as what her love for thy sister also. The poor mare is much broken by this violation of her thoughts and trust, Celestia. Broken in spirit, her heart and her mind. Her ramblings did tell me as much. Even I burned away her chains and brought her down to the care of physicians. She speaks not but gibberish, and madness sparks within her eyes. I left her unchecked. It would surely soil her soul irreversibly. Fresh tears clogged Celestia's throat. Luna's long-standing plans continued to unfold like a foul-smelling flower blossoming in the cool of evening. How long had her own sister been plotting against her in this way? How long since Luna had been taken over by the cunning, distasteful nightmare born of Sombra's evil magic? How long had Celestia failed to notice what was going on right under her own nose? It is this mare I wish to take as my student, Star Swirl finished. Wanly, Celestia asked, Wherefore? To heal as much as to teach, though doth carry guilt in thy heart. But in truth, we are able to blame in Luna's fall into darkness. We all fail to see, fail to preserve, fail to understand the truth of what was happening. Now we must all seek help and try to heal the wounds left in the wake of our failure. Star Swirl looked up at the roof and the burnished orange sky visible through it as the sun ascended. We are powerful, Celestia. It is the task of thy powerful to care for the weak. I am no ruler. I am no lesser royalty. I cannot care for the nation. But maybe I can save some pony. And then in a whisper, Celestia somehow knew she was not supposed to hear, he added, I could not save Clover. Wouldst thou sit with me for a while? She asked suddenly. He blinked at her. There is much yet work to be done. I am aware. I asked not for the whole day, only for a while, she swallowed, but the lump in her throat did not disappear. It only eased a little with the tilt of her neck, old friend. It took a moment, but Starswirl chambered up and grunted as he sat his rump down beside hers. He was much older now, and they had each had changed a lot. But they sat together as they did, a long time ago when the traveling musician found its two strange fillies with wings and horns, sitting in the hilltop watching the stars and wings stretched over of each other so tight that it was hard to tell where the blue feathers ended and the white began. Thy sister shall live for 1,000 years as part of her beloved moon, Celestia, and I shall wait for her return, Celestia silently promised, whenever and however that may be. And until then, my little ponies shall want nothing to fear and nothing. A tear slid down her cheek and vanished into her own adolling mane. I am diminished, but I am still Celestia, Princess of Equestria, and I vow that shall never make the same mistake again. Silently the unicorn and the ageless alicorn watched as a new day began.
What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video, and I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Ms. Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, please stay pretty.